go through life worried if somebody like you or not.
James Earl Jones, the legendary actor of the stage and screen, has died at the age of 93.
You never get over it, really. You simply learn how to work around it, you know.
Well, I think a lot of what comes out of such a controversy is nonsense. The controversy itself, though, you have to pay some attention to why it happens.
The world was stunned today as the legendary James Earl Jones, a towering figure in the entertainment industry, passed away suddenly. Known for his iconic voice and profound contributions to film and theater, Jones was a celebrated artist whose legacy seemed unblemished. But as we mourn his loss, unsettling questions arise about what secrets he might have taken with him to the grave. Despite his monumental success, Jones navigated a world fraught with the complexities and challenges faced by Black artists in an industry often marred by systemic discrimination and hidden agendas. What dark truths are being concealed beneath the veneer of his illustrious career?
So he hires a guy born in Mississippi, raised in Michigan, who stutters. And that's the voice, and that's me. I lucked out.
What did James Earl Jones know or experience that he never shared, and why are these revelations being kept from the public eye? As we grapple with his death, it's crucial to delve into the shadows of his life and uncover the hidden narratives that may have influenced his remarkable yet mysterious journey.
And we are coming on the air right now because ABC News has just learned that legendary actor James Earl Jones has died.
James Earl Jones, who is regarded among the world's greatest stage and screen actors, died on Monday. Earl Jones passed away this morning at his home in Dutchess County, New York, surrounded by family, his representative shared in a statement. No cause of death was immediately offered. James Earl Jones, an entertainment legend renowned for his powerful baritone voice, Jones made a lasting impression across generations. From his early struggles with a severe stutter to becoming a master of his craft, his 60-year career was marked by versatility and depth. Jones earned the prestigious EGOT status, having won Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, and Tony Awards, a rare feat accomplished by only a few entertainers.
Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, it is my joy and my privilege to present to you James Earl Jones with this, an Academy Award.
By taking one step at a time, I've found great treasures, Jones said in 2022, reflecting on his longevity in the industry. Among his nearly 200 screen credits, Jones is perhaps best known for voicing Darth Vader in the Star Wars franchise. His deep, resonant voice made the Sith Lord one of the most memorable villains in cinema history. But even when he lent his voice to such a menacing character, Jones approached his work with thoughtful humility. I wanted to make Darth Vader more interesting, more subtle, more psychologically oriented, he explained. But director George Lucas preferred a different approach, keeping Vader's voice on a very narrow band of inflection, because he ain't human. Beyond Star Wars, Jones' voice became a staple in pop culture. He was the commanding presence behind the regal Mufasa in Disney's The Lion King, and lent his distinctive voice to major brands like CNN and Verizon. His influence extended beyond the screen, captivating audiences with a sense of authority and compassion. Reflecting on his work as Mufasa, Jones recalled a significant shift in how he approached the role. "My first mistake was to try and make him regal, and what they really needed was something more like me." He went on to embody a loving, authoritative father figure, solidifying Mufasa's place in the hearts of fans worldwide. CNN described Jones as the voice of their network for decades, bringing instant authority, grace, and class every time he spoke. They said his iconic voice is just one of the many things we'll miss about him. The University of Michigan, where he went to school, honored him with a video narrated by Jones, posted on X. After he passed away, the New York Times highlighted Jones's career as a prodigious body of work and praised him as one of America's most versatile actors across stage, film, and TV. The Hollywood Reporter called him one of the most admired American actors of all time. Peter Bradshaw from The Guardian compared him to legends like Sidney Poitier and Harry Belafonte, saying his beautiful voice was central to his dignity and ability to rise above racism and cruelty in his roles, and dubbed him movie royalty. Alec Baldwin also weighed in back in 2011, calling Jones one of the greatest actors in American history.
And then through decades of staggering roles from Shakespeare to Star Wars, James Earl Jones is one of the greatest actors in American history.
Jones was hailed as a trailblazer and pioneer for African Americans thanks to his impactful roles on stage and TV. Back in 1965, he broke ground as one of the first black actors to land a continuing role on a daytime drama with As the World Turns. Viola Davis called Jones's career a reflection of black excellence. Critic Clive Barnes described his theater performances as having a moral force, likening him to a black avenging angel whose presence and voice conveyed profound, raw emotion. In 2022, the Court Theater was renamed in his honor, making it the second Broadway venue named after a black artist, after the August Wilson Theater. The Court Theater was also where Jones made his Broadway debut in 1958.
Going toward a more militant attitude about their own identity, in many ways are way ahead of the black man.
James Earl Jones is widely regarded as one of the finest black actors to have ever graced both the big and small screens since the 1960s. Like a fine wine, the Hollywood legend has only gotten better with time, starring in countless blockbuster films and stage productions over his long career. The Coming to America star has seen it all, heard it all, and conquered it all, proving his incredible versatility by taking on a wide range of challenging roles. His impressive list of awards speaks for itself, placing him in the elite group of actors who have won just about every major accolade in the world of film and theater.
So this is a big deal, huh? Okay. If you say so. Thank you.
However, it seems the black community holds a certain level of disdain for the legendary James Earl Jones, almost as if they have unresolved issues with the seasoned actor. Despite his iconic status, he doesn't always get the recognition or flowers he truly deserves. Interestingly, figures like Denzel Washington, Samuel L. Jackson, and Morgan Freeman often receive more respect and admiration, even though they have fewer films and accolades than the Lion King star. To add to the frustration, Jones has appeared less frequently in interviews and talk shows over the years, making him feel even more distant from the spotlight.
Things you could never imagine saying, never imagine thinking in your own life. You could say these things, you know. That's what it's still about. Whether it's movies or TV or what, that's what it's still about.
Fans didn't seem too bothered when James Earl Jones started fading from the spotlight, especially since many didn't want to hear his more controversial views. Eventually, he stopped appearing on interviews and talk shows altogether. The once headline-grabbing star had been pushed to the background. Then rumors started circulating. James Earl Jones was supposedly banned. This shocked many, given how beloved he was by the media and how talk show hosts were always eager to have him as a guest. So what caused the Star Wars legend to disappear from interviews? And why does he seem to have a complicated relationship with the black community?
Well, I think a lot of what comes out of such a controversy, the controversy itself, though, you have to pay some attention to why it happens.
James Earl Jones has long been hailed as one of the greatest actors in American history, with a career that speaks for itself. However, his controversial views did lead to him losing screen time at certain points. Back in the 1960s, Jones stirred up some major controversy when he implied that fellow actor Anthony Quinn was racist. At the time, this was seen as a huge scandal, given Quinn's popularity. Quinn, who was white and of Irish-Mexican descent, had expressed interest in playing Henri Christophe, the first and only black emperor of Haiti.
You certainly feel like a museum piece. I thought that they should have waited a couple of years before they... I was, as a matter of fact, my first impression was to laugh at myself.
Now, Henri Christophe was, of course, black, so it made sense that a black actor would portray him in a film. But Quinn didn't see it that way. He believed that actors shouldn't be limited by race when it came to their roles, arguing that versatility was key. He didn't think there was anything wrong with putting on blackface and mimicking black mannerisms to embody the character and expand his acting portfolio. This view, unsurprisingly, was a major point of contention, especially with someone like James Earl Jones calling it out. He said, he as an actor has to achieve that, and he also has to achieve the essence of a Haitian and all the other problems of playing an emperor with that great ambition. And if Tony Quinn fails at any of these things, he will condemn himself. But that's an actor problem, not a cultural one. To provide some context, the Black community was outraged by Anthony Quinn's ambitions. They were already fed up with Hollywood's mistreatment, tired of being stuck in stereotypical roles like maids, housekeepers, gardeners, and attendants. So when Quinn, a white actor, expressed his desire to play a Black historical figure, it felt like salt in the wound. Black actors were already struggling to land decent roles, and they expected at least the opportunity to portray Black characters themselves, especially significant figures like Emperor Henri Christophe. He said, "He's made one implication which I don't agree with, which is that Black actors who are available to play the part have failed to do so because they feel they're not qualified." In response, the community protested fiercely. They felt Black actors should be given Black roles to create more opportunities and representation, instead of being relegated to low-paying menial parts. Ellen Hawley, a Black actress, even wrote an impassioned letter to the New York Times, urging Quinn to drop his plan. She argued that his taking on the role would undermine Black pride and take away a chance for Black actors to represent their own history. In 1972, during an appearance on The Dick Cavett Show, James Earl Jones was asked about his thoughts on Anthony Quinn's ambitions and Ellen Hawley's sharp remarks, which were a hot topic at the time. Jones found himself in a tricky spot. If he openly condemned Quinn, he risked damaging his reputation in Hollywood and alienating many white viewers. On the other hand, if he supported Quinn, he would face intense backlash from the Black community, who might label him a traitor.
Well, I think a lot of what comes out of such a controversy is nonsense.
Jones, however, navigated the situation masterfully. He made it clear that he disagreed with Quinn's desire to portray Emperor Henri Christophe, but did so in a way that earned him respect from both sides. He stated that he wouldn't have an issue with Quinn taking on the role if he met 3 specific criteria: project the appearance of a Black man, embody Haitian mannerisms and accents, and most importantly, accurately portray the emperor. Jones emphasized that if Quinn failed to achieve even one of these, then he would have essentially condemned himself. This thoughtful response allowed Jones to thread the needle between the two opposing views and avoid alienating his fan base.
I can't condemn Tony Quinn for playing that. Only Tony Quinn can condemn himself if he does not achieve several things.
On The Dick Cavett Show, the host tried to corner James Earl Jones, suggesting that Jones wasn't willing to openly condemn Anthony Quinn since it was practically impossible for Quinn to meet all the requirements Jones had laid out. However, Jones skillfully responded by explaining that he didn't know Quinn well enough to judge his abilities. Instead of outright condemning Quinn, Jones cleverly stated that Quinn would condemn himself if he failed to meet the expectations, subtly implying that it wasn't appropriate for a white actor to play Black roles. After all, it would look ridiculous for a white actor to put on Black makeup and mimic Black mannerisms, attitude, and accents just to portray a Black character. Jones then mentioned his main disagreement with Quinn. Quinn had implied that no Black actor felt capable of portraying Henri Christophe. Jones dismissed this, noting that many talented Black actors, including himself, had the range and skills to take on such a role. The real issue, according to Jones, was that Black actors didn't audition for the role because they hadn't seen a script that did justice to Christophe's legacy, historically, culturally, or dramatically.
He has to evoke, project a Black man in appearance and behavior and so on. To the extent that we are different from white people, he has to, as an actor, achieve that.
During this era of acting heavyweights like Sidney Poitier, Morgan Freeman, and Samuel L. Jackson, it was laughable to think these actors couldn't portray Henri Christophe with perfection. Jones felt that Quinn's excuse was nonsense, and he believed Quinn used it to justify his controversial ambition, given the storm it stirred in the press. James Earl Jones left the studio audience in stitches when he jokingly claimed that he too had aspirations of playing Ludwig van Beethoven. But of course, he'd need to curl his hair, paint his skin white, and adopt Beethoven's mannerisms. Although he delivered the joke with grace, many in the audience, especially white fans, picked up on the subtle dig aimed at Anthony Quinn. Some even labeled Jones as a racist for suggesting that dismissing an actor based on their skin color was wrong, flipping the argument back on him. While white folks were upset, they couldn't openly call him out, as he hadn't explicitly said anything outright offensive. Instead, he used irony to convey his message through the Beethoven comment.
And if Tony Quinn fails at any of these things, he has condemned himself. But that's an actor problem, and not a cultural one, you know.
According to the Grapevine, Hollywood wasn't thrilled with Jones' jab at their beloved Tony Quinn, and this might have led to his being silently blackballed. After that, Jones started receiving fewer roles, and his pay reportedly dropped as well. To make matters worse, talk show hosts began steering clear of him, all because of that one subtle implication that their favorite actor had racist undertones.
You mentioned that black women you've met have been uptight. What do you mean by that?
What do I mean by uptight? Going toward a more militant attitude.
James Earl Jones faced a complicated relationship with the black community, in part due to controversial comments he made earlier in his career. At the height of his fame, he reportedly referred to black women as unfeminine and militant. He criticized them for being uptight and quick-tempered, suggesting that their behavior was an overreaction to the stereotypes of the past, particularly the image of the submissive black woman who was subservient to white men. These remarks did not sit well with many in the Afro-American community, especially black women, who felt disrespected by his words. Although Jones' work was celebrated, this history created a love-hate dynamic. For a brief time after his jab at Anthony Quinn, the black community rallied behind him, but the earlier remarks continued to cast a shadow over his relationship with his own people. This tension contributed to the complexity of his standing within the community, as he was both revered for his accomplishments and criticized for his controversial statements.
I would, of course, be very interested if people wanted to have intermarriages and were denied that right, though.
James Earl Jones stirred up significant controversy within the black community with his remarks about black women. He expressed that he saw the idea of the black woman as the primary breadwinner as a myth, suggesting it wasn't a choice but a necessity driven by political and social circumstances. He believed that black women, in striving for high-status jobs, had taken on the role of breadwinner, which came with its own set of challenges and frustrations. Jones also controversially expressed a preference for white women over black women, describing black women as rough and almost like men, which sparked outrage. This view led to widespread criticism from the black community, particularly from black women, who felt deeply offended by his comments. Many called for a boycott of his work, and while Jones wasn't universally hated, he wasn't embraced either. He found himself caught between two worlds, disliked by some white audiences and rejected by his own community. This strained relationship seems to have lingered, as even today, his legacy and achievements are met with mixed feelings within the black community.
I take it back. You're not in trouble. You're dead where you stand.
James Earl Jones's early acting career was rooted in a blend of stage and radio work. He began at the Ramsdell Theater in Manistee, Michigan, where he initially worked as a stage carpenter in 1953. By 1955, Jones had transitioned to acting and stage management, making a notable debut in the role of Othello during his first season. His career on the Broadway stage started in 1957 when he took on the role of understudy to Lloyd Richards in the play The Egghead by Molly Kazan. Although the play was short-lived, running only 21 performances, it marked the beginning of Jones's Broadway journey. In January 1958, he landed his first significant role as Edward the Butler in Dore Sherry's Sunrise at Campobello at the Court Theater, a role that helped establish his presence in the theater world. In the early to mid-1960s, James Earl Jones established himself as a prominent Shakespearean actor, taking on a range of iconic roles. His portrayals of Othello and King Lear, as well as his performances as Oberon in A Midsummer Night's Dream, Abhorsen in Measure for Measure, and Claudius in Hamlet, cemented his reputation in classical theater.
You sulphurous and thought-executing fires, couriers of oak cleaving.
Jones also made his film debut during this period in Stanley Kubrick's Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb, 1964, where he played Lieutenant Lothar Zog, a B-52 bombardier. He later appeared in The Comedians, sharing the screen with Richard Burton, Elizabeth Taylor, and Alec Guinness, playing a surgeon and Haitian rebel leader. In December 1967, Jones starred in Howard Sackler's The Great White Hope at the Arena Stage in Washington, D.C., where he played Jack Jefferson, a character inspired by the real-life boxer Jack Johnson. The play's success continued when it moved to Broadway on October 3, 1968. The Great White Hope won the Pulitzer Prize for Drama, and Jones received the Tony Award for Best Actor in a Play and the Drama Desk Award for his compelling performance. In 1970, Jones reprised reprised his stage role as boxer Jack Johnson in the film adaptation of The Great White Hope. This was his first leading role in a film and was met with critical acclaim, earning him an Academy Award nomination for Best Actor. He was the second African-American male performer to receive such a nomination, following Sidney Poitier. Variety praised Jones's performance as an eye-riveting experience, highlighting his ability to portray the character's intense emotions vividly. In 1972, Jones starred in The Man, where he played a senator who unexpectedly becomes the first African-American president of the United States.
I am deeply indebted, Mr. Eden.
In 1973, James Earl Jones delivered a memorable performance as Hickey in the Broadway revival of Eugene O'Neill's The Iceman Cometh at the Circle in the Square Theater. Later that year, he took on the title role in William Shakespeare's King Lear at the New York City Shakespeare Festival in Central Park, alongside Paul Sorvino, René Auberjonois, and Raoul Julia. This production was recorded and broadcast by PBS as part of the Great Performances series the following year. Additionally, in 1974, Jones starred as Lenny in the Broadway adaptation of John Steinbeck's Of Mice and Men, with Kevin Conway as George and Pamela Blair as Curly's wife. In 1974, Jones also co-starred with Diahann Carroll in the film Claudine. The film, a romantic comedy drama, tells the story of a woman raising her 6 children alone after several failed relationships. Claudine was notable for addressing systemic racial disparities, welfare issues, and economic inequality within the African-American community during the 1970s. Both Jones and Carroll received widespread critical acclaim for their performances, with Jones and Carroll earning Golden Globe nominations. Carroll was also nominated for an Academy Award for Best Actress.
Wait a minute. Now, if I marry this lady, I want to make things...
In 1987, James Earl Jones delivered a powerful performance as Troy Maxon in August Wilson's play Fences. The play, part of Wilson's 10-part Pittsburgh cycle, is set in the 1950s and delves into themes of race relations and the African-American experience. Jones's portrayal of Troy, a middle-aged working-class father struggling to provide for his family, earned him widespread critical acclaim and his second Tony Award for Best Actor in a Play. Throughout the 1980s, Jones continued to make a significant impact in both film and theater. He appeared in several box office hits, including Conan the Barbarian, 1982, where he played the role of Thulsa Doom. The film, an action fantasy epic, showcased Jones's ability to bring intensity and gravitas to his roles. He also starred in Coming to America, 1988, an Eddie Murphy comedy that added depth and humor to the film. Jones's performance was a key element in the film's charm and success. Additionally, Jones was featured in Field of Dreams, 1989, a sports drama fantasy that earned an Academy Award nomination for Best Picture. His role contributed to the film's critical acclaim and its impact on audiences.
People will come, Ray. They'll come to Iowa.
Jones's work in the independent film Matawan, 1987, which dramatizes the Battle of Matawan, a significant coal miners' strike in 1920, earned him a nomination for the Independent Spirit Award. His portrayal in this film highlighted his versatility and continued his streak of compelling performances. Despite his notable achievements in the film industry, James Earl Jones found himself largely disregarded by the Black community. His professional success seemed overshadowed by past controversies and personal choices that had alienated him from many within his own race. His critical remarks about Black women and the myth of the Black matriarch had already stirred significant backlash, and his subsequent marriage to a white woman only added fuel to the fire. Jones's personal decisions appeared to reinforce the rift between him and the Black community. The marriage seemed to be seen as a further act of defiance or an attempt to prove a point, exacerbating the already existing disdain from many in the community. Consequently, despite his contributions to cinema and theater, his accomplishments were often met with indifference or outright dismissal by those who had once been his supporters. That's it for today. See you in the next video. Until then, goodbye.